It's the 3rd day of April 2022 and we're here at Boher Church, Boher Streamson, County Westmeath, Ireland. And this church was built in the 1940 and 41 and Father Mulvaney was the parish priest in Ballymore, Boher, and he organised it, and there was a lot of local people done the labour in it and that, but Mr. McIntyre was the contractor, and he brought his tradesmen with him, with a certain amount of local labour worked there, and one of them was Peter Ward from Clare Hill, and they had a problem digging out the foundations. There came in a lot of rocks and they were chipping at them and they couldn't get them out of it, but Peter Ward suggested that they light fires on the rocks, and then when the fire burnt out, throw cold water on them and the cracks. So they done that, and the crack came out no bother at all. And that, as another person that worked on it was John Finn Dungay and Mick Minton from Killianbrach, and there was Mick Minton was only a young lad, maybe 17, but he had a good head for heights, and some of them betted when they wouldn't walk along the ridge at the roof for a £5 note. Now the wages at that time was £1 and 10 shillings for a week, and there was 20 shillings in the pound, so it was £1.50. But £5 was a lot of money, so he did get up and walked along it, and then they betted with him that he wouldn't stand on the cross for £10 with his hands in the air, and he got up and done that, and it was an awful thing to put up to a young lad anyway, but McIntyre wanted him to go with him permanently building, but he had a good head for the heights, but his mother wouldn't let him, so he didn't go. That statue that you see there was it was within some years after the church was built, and the two men came with it on a lorry, and were looking around wondering how they'd get up on it and that, and some of the locals suggested that to send for Hugh Clavin, and he might be able to figure out something to get up. So they got Hugh anyway, and there was some scaffolding pegging around after building the church, so they got he rigged up a pulley block on that, and pulled it up and shoved it in on the plinth there. And that's the building, the cement that was used in building that was there was two cement mixers mixing, but the way the cement was got up higher and higher there was staggered platforms, and the cement to be pitched on with shovels till it got up from one to the other, and until it got up to the right height, and it'd be brought round with barrows. And that had a horse, Hurricane was his name. Anthony Finn was the only man that could manage him, and he was pulled the blocks up and that. They had a pulley system too for the tower and that. Father Mulvaney was a great organizer and that, but there was a hall built here in 1930, I think, to raise money for the building of that church. And it was, and that's a new hall, new community centre now. But the hall was, it was tin hall, that type of job. But it was a big place for dances and all that. And at that time, there was a Father Holmes, he was a curate here, and Master Kavanagh was trying to run the dances here, and they weren't getting much of a crowd, and that, but they were talking to Father Mulvaney was talking to him about it, and how could they get a better crowd coming, and Master Kavanagh told Father Mulvaney to keep Father Holmes out of the hall. He was too good at doing his priestly duties and that, but the hall carried, it was a big dancing venue, but the Roseland and Moat was built in, it came in the mid-60s, I think, anyway, but that more or less finished. All the dancers went there. But that was a place, there was what they call the Old Hall of Bishopstown, and that was a big place for dancing. All the locals danced Céilís and all that in it. And it was kind of a marker in your age. You danced at the Old Hall in Bishopstown. And that was, it's there on the long straight road there heading for Rosemount. And up here was a forge up here. The Wrinkles had a forge there, just on the left hand side up there. And there was no drills or angle grinders or welders or anything like that. If he wanted to bore an iron, he heated it up and had held it, and the brother, Pat and Joe Wrinkle was the name. The brother had put a punch over, and the other man had hit it with a heavy hammer, and it had put a hole in it. And if they wanted to cut iron, then put a wedge over it and bet it on the anvil, and it had fall off, and that. And they shoed horses and all that kind of thing. Yeah. It was, Wrinkle, it was an unusual name. Now, I looked in the phone directory once and I could only find one person with the name of Wrinkle. So they must have come into the country way back with some of the armies as farriers with the cavalry units and that. It was no bother for blacksmiths and farriers to get work anywhere and that. This grotto here, this grotto was propped sometime in the 50s. Jim McLaughlin at Clare Hill, I think, was instrumental in putting it there and that. And that's all I can tell you at the moment. This church replaced an old church down the road there that was built in 1830, and this was, I suppose, at the repeal of the penal laws, but there was a mass rock over across the fields there, and that's where people from around here went to mass and that. But this church here is this parish here. I think the official name of it is Kildare Parish, and there was a church there, I suppose, before the Reformation, and then on to Mass Rocks, and here's we are now. That's it now.